Okay, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm so happy that we have some audience around finance, around timescale here. And my name is Jônatas. Today, our main topic is timescale for finance and why we are doing this. So, this is a call to action to our community. The idea here is that we have a lot of segments. We have like 11,000 people into our Slack today. And then we see that we can start doing some verticals and helping people to find similarities in their business. And that was our main idea on trying this. So the the main intent of this session is like we try to think about like industry standards, probably similar businesses that have similar needs, and maybe we can learn with each other. Maybe business are like in very different directions, but they still have the same database needs, right? So the idea of this discussion is we start thinking about the templates that can help you to kick off a new project or some, let's say, collective mindset that some industry can use to build the patterns inside the database. And the community is always asking for this type of like questions, what I should use for my compression, how I should be doing things. And that's exactly what we want to build here. We want to be talking about what are the optimized options. Like everybody has a different answer here, or maybe we'll just see the answers are having some patterns, and then we can start learning from these patterns. And my idea here is be the instrument to be documenting it, like and representing the DevRel, and we can discuss this thing. So feel free to use the chat anytime and share your comments and everything that can help us to be a very smart on our decisions, and any like mindset that helped you to go in the direction you go. So this is idea is we build this collective mindset, right? So the everybody wants to have this most optimized environment using low energy consumption, low memory, low everything, and high speed, right? So if you build something in your side that you think like, oh, this is really is not like the key of my business, like I can share this, and that's how we build community. So that is what we want here. So why not build it, right? So Timescale seems a great hub for finding these folks, and that's the idea. So you can take a look into I just renamed it. It was Timescale slash finance. And then we decide like, let's put slash templates. Maybe we can find different communities and people that can contribute there. And as we are going towards different verticals later, then we can also be using it. So yeah, finance is our first. So the idea is like we build a opinionated template for finance folks, and we help the industry to just speed up and build more and more apps faster. And why finance? Why we just choose finance? Is it a random choice? No, that's because of this guy. So that's me. I was building trading systems for 5 years in the past. That's like from 2007, 2012. So it was a long time ago. And probably the volume today is much larger, but I loved it. I was very excited. And especially I got like in love with high frequency trading and like go into algorithms that are optimized. So I don't have like a computer science course, but I was very intrigued with like algorithms around high performance systems, and that was like my journey on going towards performance systems. So that's like part of my 20 years career as a backend developer. So I was always like backend developer. Last 3 years, I'm here at Timescale as developer advocate slash community manager. And yeah, so I have this expertise in the past, and I think I can help with the mindset, or at least with my expertise building trade systems during this time. And what industries are coming next? So this is an overview. We are starting with the final scenario. We just believe that sensors in general, like IoT or something like that, is the next one, like how how we can afford it. And then we are going to also explore with the community what is like a community that already have a need or people that want to join and see. So we are going to have these weekly meetings to discuss these patterns. The 6 meetings now are going to be on finance, and later we will go in this direction. So let's build it together. That's the idea, and I hope you also enjoy learning with each other. And let's start discovering a bit more. So that's the time that Cheyenne will also start building and sharing some questions. We are just trying to see like how are you fitting your market data. This is really not related, but this is just like for opening a space. If you want to share, feel free to share. If you don't want to share, that's also a thing that we see. Like, for example, we are looking for building a kind of kickoff on market data. So would you prefer to start with Golang or Python or Rust? What's the type of language? So that's like the type of thing that we want to discover here. So if you want to share, feel free to share. And you can also use it as a way to also share your desire or like the movement or like even your mindset. Oh, I think Python is better because of X. So that's a space that, oh, I learned that Ruby is not good for this or whatever. So we should be sharing our expertise, and anything that comes to your market can be useful for other folks. So we can see what type of expertise we can share here. So use the chat, reply if you can reply in the topic. I'm not sure if we have like thread style here. I think it's just like flat chat. So just reply, and we are going to maybe use it later to also build the next documentation. Talks chip. Let's show me the code. Let's start the session finally. So the first thing that when we think about market data is how you are going to just pipe the raw data. So some people call it trades, some people call it ticks. I like the ticks name. I don't know why. I just started my old school days. That was how it was called. I just used my personal name, but I'm up for renaming this. And the thing is, like, this table should be really, really simple. So it should have the time, the symbol, the price, and the volume. And here's the question: is anything missing here? Is there any extra field in your ticks table? Do you store any extra raw data, right? So if you can share, reply, or just confirm, yeah, that's it. That works for me. That's exactly what I have here, right? So that's a way that we can move in this direction, okay? How do you create your hyper table? And especially, like, what's your chunk time interval? One day is good for you. Like, we are not sharing, like, nobody's sharing the personal data volume here. So this is very theoretical, but in the same way, maybe people just have like similar needs and they also have similar intervals, right? So uh, longer or shorter, what works better for you? If you can share your expertise, that would be great. If anyone would like to even continue this discussion later into our Slack channel, feel free to bring this up again. This is very important. I guess this is the most basic thing that we should think together in terms of like starting with good partitions, right? So maybe, for example, the cardinality of your data, you are like watching 100 symbols, and for 100 symbols with a volume of average 20 symbols, 20 events per symbol per second, maybe you see that 1 day interval works well. If you have like 10 times this volume, maybe you find like 12 hours, or even like you see that for the way you query your business later, maybe it's like 1 week. So that's the type of discussion that I would like to understand from you, or just like Well, I use the 1 week that is the default time scale for. I never changed it, and it always worked for me. So that's the type of question and answer that we are looking for here. I put 1 day as I see like uh, a more clear pipeline of what I'm going to compress, and then I can compress day by day, not week by week. So I think compressing smaller fragments in this way will end up, let's say, having shorter locks and things like that. So depending on how you're going later to process your continuous aggregates and everything, it can change. So the mindset that you build on this pipeline is very important. And if anyone has any thoughts about it, if anyone has any experience, like, hey, I tried this and I need to change, share your experience, your expertise, or what happened when you did what, and how you changed it. So uh, uh, don't feel shy about what we are going to share here. This is a opportunity for learning, and yeah. So Facundo share it, and I can also ask you to share a live if you want, Facundo, to go and share your expertise. I guess now you can also use your mic. Okay, I will share if Facundo yeah. So okay, no problem. Okay, Facundo don't have the microphone, so I will just read it. An overall question I've always had is, what's the big impact of the chunk interval in the query performance? Bigger chunks probably use less file access. Smaller chunks means more get excluded on time range based queries. Also, when the delta between uncompressed and compressed data is big, you start having a warped configuration where your live uncompressed chunk is massive, but your compressed chunk is diminuted. What's the general recommendation here? Well, that's a great question, and that's exactly let's say the mix of live data plus compressed data, and what exactly is the best size. I always My main concern when I think about it is design the system for optimizing for your read if you can, and not for your writes, right? Because you find a way to write, but if you can optimize for the way you read, you will always be, let's say, looking for avoiding all constraints that makes your read faster. So if your reading window needs uncompressed things, or decompressing things is not the best case for what you're reading, probably you need to circumvent it with other strategies to make it like. And the problem is, of course, you need to be like balancing IO and things like that. um, I know we have like a database core expert here. Jan is here. Jan Christoph, maybe you want to also share it in the chat, your expertise. Jan is a database core engineer. He works with the Timescale team, and he's in the core level. Maybe he can also share his expertise with us, and share it. If you also wanted to share a live, I can try to pass the mic. But yeah, I know he's around, so I always try to involve the people and see how we can move it forward. Okay, let's move forward. 1 day is a good interval. So yeah, that's the question. I just missed the yeah. So if you have any opinion, and also now just to one small comment about what Facundo says about compressed versus uncompressed. After we introduced the multiple compression algorithms, we changed the way we validate the small fragments that we are compressing. So the compression system, it has like a segment by thing, and that will choose what is the column criteria that you are using, and this is this will accumulate or aggregate a batch of values. So you have arrays of values limiting to 1,000 values per batch. So as we move to multiple compression, we are getting smarter and smarter to just like not need to decompress the entire batch, but just decompress the smaller amount that we need, and make these small changes that, let's say, we can have small overrides, and then late at some point we merge the overrides, and we always consider some addition or extra package that make the final value available. So that's a kind of thing that is quite complex. I don't have the best vocabulary to explain this, but maybe we will go very deeper on a session that we will be talking explicitly about compression. If anyone has any other thoughts about the chunk time interval, feel free to share. Let's move on and let's talk exactly about compression. So that's the next topic here. So what's on your settings? If you can share what is on your settings. So let's start with order by, ask, or desk. What works better for you? So do you need to be descending your data? Do you have any thoughts on like, this really makes sense for me? For my queries, this is much faster because I'm always going bottom to up versus up to bottom. So it will always depend on how you query your data, what types of analysis you are doing. But if you want to share your expertise, this can also help others, and we can also be building this knowledge base on how to use it. Any thoughts on this are very welcome. And yeah. Okay. Thank you, Nelson. Yeah, Nelson uses compress order by time desk. So yeah, and probably it gets you access to the latest price. So you are always looking to latest of something. So it makes a lot of sense to just revert the order and get the first element. That's a very nice trick that, like, these small configurations of timescale makes all the difference. So if you are not tuning it yet, just take a look, spend some time there, make some tests and run your queries, and you see a lot of difference. So yeah, really recommend you take a look. Any other field in the other by? Do you use something else? So in this case, like maybe you have an extra field there. Maybe you use it symbol. I really don't know. What else do you need in the order by? Do you have any other experiments on this? Okay. So yeah, um, this is interesting that we understand how people use, and it's also a reminder that both segment by and order by are arguments accept expression. It's not like a field name, so you can say symbol, comma, market, for example. If you have multiple market sources, maybe you have like Binance or different sources, and then you will probably use this type of let's say, expression. Okay, let's move on. Is 1 week good? Is it? I really don't have any opinion on this. To be honest, I just put the 1 week good as a compression time interval here, thinking that probably I'll never go to raw data back, because I will be using candlesticks. I will be using continuous aggregates to check past values, and then I can compress them in bigger chunks and have like a more the size of files will be similar, let's say. Okay, so do you have a compression policy? So here we suggest the compression policy to be compressing the data after 1 week. What do you have in your configuration? How you use it? Any thoughts? Anything that you regret? Anything that you did and you just moved? So is 1 week good? Any downsides, anything that you think like worth sharing, any story that you can share with us? Because like these compressions, as you know, it will spin up several background process. So for example, depending on the size of your compressed data or how you were looking past data and need to access this data, you be competing with IO and compress and compress. You also use CPU, right? So you need CPU cycles to be decompressing data. And the other side, you have short lookups because you have short reads in the disk. So that's always a kind of trade-off. And maybe 1 week doesn't work for you or work for others. So we are very curious to know. And we can also continue this discussion later. I will probably also share these questions in our Slack later if anyone would like to watch the video and contribute. And let's move to the most exciting topic, that is hierarchical continuous aggregates. That is one of the coolest feature we have. So just for those that are not familiar, you can take a look here. The first thing that is different here is that we have oops. We have this. Oh, I remember I have a way to put like a mouser pointer here, but yeah, you can see here that we have the OHLC and of 1 minute, and then we have here 1 hour, and this 1 hour is coming from the 1 minute. So the key thing here is that we can use this row up function, and the row up function can't reuse the previous candlestick egg here. So candlestick egg is a kind of component that we can merge. So in this case, we can get like 5 candlesticks of 1 minute and build a candlestick of 5 minutes and so on. So everything has a trade-off. So when we are building the pipelines between the candlesticks and keep processing it up, I would say, depending on how heavy you use the other views, maybe you don't need to materialize all of them. Like for example, processing 15 minutes at candlestick, you just need 15 rows. So it's not that much. Let's say if you go from the minute, you get like a week of data. So depending on your business and how many lookups you do, maybe you don't need to break down it too much. And also, this is a discussion that we have a lot in the community. That is the discussion that we are asking people about how many levels of hierarchical continuous aggregates you should use. So in this case, we are using only 3, and we could go for a month or year and so on. But would it make sense to just have it there as like another chain of processing that goes over all the processing system, versus depending on how often you are reading, you can just read a few more rows and get into the same result? So this is the question that you should be asking yourself, because the time scale is also an engine, so it also needs to be having like time to breath and exchange operations. So more you make things tight, more you add backend jobs, background workers are busy doing more levels of things. So if you are not like reading too much, maybe the cost of reading it will be much simpler than just keep processing it. So that's also a thing that you should be questioning, and maybe even looking into how much lookups you have in this data later. What of this data is being read and what of them are just there. So that's a kind of analysis that can help you to define the most important frames in the continuous aggregates. So let's go to the questions. So what kind of configuration do you use? Are you on minute, hour, daily? Are you on daily, week, year? How many levels do you use? How much parallel things do you process? This is very important. This is about how much work you delegate to timescale engine versus how much work you control and you query and you process your data. So more you do for optimizing reads, less you have work on reading, and in the other side the same way you have it. So very cool. Like we have some folks sharing hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly without real time. That's also a very important question, Nelson. Thanks for a reminder. Yeah, we have materialized only option. I guess I don't remember if I put a slide about it. I guess yes, no. So materialize only is the one that fetches data in real time and just mix real time data with what you have on materialized views. And yeah, this is a very smart option to disable. No real time means like just go to materialized views. Don't try to go to raw data and process it in real time. Okay, folks. What else? So the features that I was building here from my mind, things that I think would be useful, is track last price. So this is also valuable there. I am trying to build algorithms that are very, let's say, detachable. So like a plugin. So when you say track last price, it will create a new table named symbols, and the symbol will have the symbol, the last price, and the last price at. So, and then when you start receiving new ticks, you have a trigger that goes and update this price. So this is a kind of like metadata table that allows you to have access to last price, and you have like this very short table just with a few records, and you keep like generating new updates all the time. So if you are not familiar with how Postgres works internally, updating things are similar to creating new rows, and you are just generating more work for the garbage collector. So it's not the best spreads. And that's the kind of thing that we will have a full session just to discuss these things and just to think together and think what would be the best strategy to resolve this problem. So this is one thing we have there. Another thing is pair correlation. So several times you are correlating two stocks or two a pair of symbols. So you are watching and you are correlating, and then you need to do all your pipeline of processing. So this pair correlation is also a feature that I developed using plain SQL, only triggers, just for fun, just to expose and experiment with how you can make it. And then the idea is that we are also going into a session just doing this type of analysis, and then we can run benchmarks, we can do some experiments to show how this code runs or not. I am very interested in build a kind of marked data simulator, which we could just say, hey, this is the type of payload I have here. So let's create something that keeps throwing that payload and keep like doing some random values and making it go further as a marked data simulator. And then we can keep watching the throughput, watch the insights, checking how the machine is working or not. So I started some work there in the market data simulator. It's not perfect. My idea was even use the background workers from Timescale to not need an external machine to throw the data in. And then we can isolate network and everything and just use a single background worker or a few workers to keep feeding the data. And then we have also a few other ideas to build together. So one idea is like, can we create like a large configuration system that you can do some stuff like, hey, this is my processing pipeline. I don't need this, like, or you can do some filtering, ignore some type of data you are not going to analyze, maybe we could build some stuff that could be broadly adopted. For example, this continuous hierarchical configuration. I just say, well, my config is hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. That's it. And then it generates the hierarchy for you, and it also maintains the life cycle using your refreshing policy. So the idea of like, maybe we think together, what are like the most common needs of finance market data and how we can make this configurable. And then we have this unified configuration, and we create small SQL that can use the configuration to tie every timescale component on it. So that's my dream. Like, we go to all the industries and have this small script that you configure, and we can just like put it there, and it will start piping the data with like, let's say, a reasonable settings, right? And maybe later, if we have like data analysts and we get people that wanted to introduce some indicators or some libraries to work with indicators, maybe that's also a path. As we have the toolkit processing already candlestick, we can also add indicators over the candlestick, or we can add indicators of the raw data. So that's the idea. For the next sessions, we are going to go very deep in the next session on hierarchical continuous aggregates and how we are going to do candlestick processing. And then the idea of this session is just go really deep into how background workers are working, what's happening behind the scenes, and then let people understand the downsides and upsides of every configuration. So yeah, the sessions will be continuing almost in this idea. We'll have a special session also about them sampling that are very useful for avoiding networking and things like that. So that's it from the next session about the continuous aggregates. Just to a sneak peek of what we are going to do is understanding and going deep into the granularity, going to what are the watermarks, how the backfilling works, and how the validation logs acts with backfilling. So we can do like a debugging session, walk through these steps. And then we can also see toolkit aggregations. How is Candlestick doing things behind the scenes? How it really works, and what are the limits? How you can use like a window and shift window, and then also we can talk about manual refreshes and retention policies, compression policies, and like what is the best for materialized only. Are you using real time? So this is the type of session that we can explore deep, just the processing pipeline of Timescale. Questions? If anyone would like to share questions alive, feel free to share. We can also we can just reserve now 5 minutes for it, or we can also move and answer async in our channel. But I'm very happy to answer 1 or 2 questions alive if anyone has anything. Thank you for your time too, Facundo, and thank you, everybody. So we can continue the discussion on finance market data. Also, I would love to invite everybody that wants to have an office hours with me, or James. If you go to timescale.com/office hours, you can find a link to my calendar or James' calendar, depending on where you are. I am Brazil, James in New Zealand. So you can find some time and book some time with us. We are very happy to help and do like customized solutions, or just work with you on something that you are working. The idea is that we want to hear from the community, and we want to spend time. We moved the office hours from a monthly model to one-on-one, and I'm having a lot of interesting conversations. I would love to have more and more of it. So feel free to book some time with me as well. Thank you very much, and I hope you like it. I hope you enjoy. Feel free to share any feedback, how I can make it more productive and useful for you in the future. See you next time.